Get him! Go for the knife! Throw him off the roof!
Brent, what are you doing, Brent?
Bradley, leave me alone. I'm enjoying these fight scenes.
But Brent, there is so much more going on than just the fighting. There are also humans pretending to be gods because they didn't want to spend the money on CGI. So give me the body, Brent.
Nope, I want action.
But there was more blood in OJ's Bronco than there is in these so-called fight scenes, bruv.
Fine, you're right, take the body. Just wake me when Obi-Wan starts.
Hey everyone, it's Bradley the Middleman, your middle-aged middle manager from Middle London.
Okay, new plan. I'll take the body for the Moon Knight Episode 3 breakdown, and you can have it back for our Bumble date to go see West Side Story.
Okay, deal.
Hey everyone, it's Brent the Middleman. Let's forget the intro, grab your fake passport, and get your ass to Mars. The episode begins with Layla getting a fake passport so she can travel to Egypt to catch up with Harrow and Marc, and get a few drinks on the plane. The conversation about her father being an archaeologist who died confirmed for me the theory that Layla is based on Marlene Alrani from the comics. In the comic, Bushman kills the archaeologist's father, but it appears they've retconned it for the show. More on that later. It's also at that time in the comics that Bushman killed Marc, leading him to become Moon Knight. It may have played out similarly in the show, but they will probably give Marc a good reason for killing her father, or show that he was just trying to save him. Or possibly blame it on the third killer personality that is teased later. Or maybe Harrow will have been responsible, and this is when he lost his spot as Khonshu's avatar. Harrow did recognize Marc as a mercenary, and he knows all about what happened with Layla's dad, so yeah, there. Speaking of avatars, we next check in with Harrow in the desert as he follows the Scarab to the Ark of the Amet's tomb. They find it, and they're happy. Next, we catch up with the Sharks and the Jets, Marc and some bad guys fight dancing on an Egyptian rooftop. Marc slaps the kid instead of punching him to show us that he isn't as violent as we thought, since we all know after the Oscars that slapping isn't actually assault. Marc catches his reflection in the knife, causing him to switch personalities, and we get to see what the swap feels like from Marc's perspective. He wakes up in a taxi heading to the airport, and the taxi driver asks him why he's acting like a foreigner now. This was the first hint of a third personality, since there is no way Steven wouldn't be mistaken for a tourist. Marc then sees the guys he was fighting leaving the hospital or police station, and they are terrified of him. Marc yells, "It wasn't me!" Again, there is no way that Steven scared these guys this bad, unless he tried reciting them some French poetry. So this is the second clue that there is a third personality, and he's hardcore. The chase through the market was very Indiana Jones, and Marc really needs to quit stopping right by reflective surfaces. We jump to Marc outside of town right after he stabbed the designer hoodie guy. This is when we get the third hint that there is another killer personality in there with Steven and Marc. The leading theory is that the third personality is Jake Lockley, since he is one of them in the comics. Comic Jake is a New York cab driver who helps gather street-level information for his Moon Knight persona. I really hope Jake is the hardcore side of Marc, and we get to hear Oscar Isaac do a New York accent. The other theory is that the third personality is Khonshu, but I don't think that's it, because if Khonshu could just take over like that, he would never let go. The guy can rewind the universe. With Pirate Guy and Designer Hoodie Dude killed, Khonshu tells Marc to hold Pink Mohawk Kid over the ledge to get him to reveal Harrow's location. But the kid is super loyal, which is probably why he passed Amet's judgment and kills himself. For somebody ready to die for a cause, he sure spent a lot of time on his look. Marc and Steven argue in a reflection, where Steven confirms he wasn't the one killing people, and that he blames Khonshu, the big pigeon. This may be to make us think Khonshu is taking over and stabbing fashionable bad guys, so that the Jake Lockley reveal hits harder. In a last-ditch effort to find Harrow, Khonshu has what he calls a bad plan to get the gods' attention. Khonshu takes off, and we see that the plan was to create a total eclipse of the heart. These old gods are pretty powerful. Harrow sees what's happening and realizes the old bird is getting desperate. Khonshu tells Marc that the gods are gathering up their avatars by creating portals to the temple, which we learn from Steven is inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. I was pretty bummed that we didn't get to see the actual gods. Khonshu is so well done, it would have been awesome to see the whole group of them. Inside the temple, we meet some of the Ennead, starting with Yatzil, the avatar for Hathor, goddess of music and love, and it's not so subtly implied that Hathor and Khonshu used to play Hide the Moonstaff together. I really enjoyed the trial of Harrow. Oscar Isaac is just killing it in this show, and it really made me want to shout talk everything! The gods in attendance are Horus, Isis, definitely not pronounced Isis, Tefnut, Osiris, and Hathor. They bring in Harrow to defend himself, and he does his best Johnny Cochran by trying to make Marc look insane. If he's throwing a fit, you must acquit. But even so, you'd think the gods would at least want to go check out what he's doing. They have frickin' magic portals. They could just poke their heads out. Khonshu can spin the galaxy like a top, but they can't take a minute to see for themselves if Harrow is helping to bring back a god that will destroy the Earth. But hey, the shout talking was pretty funny. A couple things from the trial that jumped out at me. Harrow says that he has no way of knowing how many personalities Marc has, definitely setting up a reveal of even more. And when Khonshu goes to attack Harrow, the Horus or Osiris avatar uses some white-colored magic to stop him. We know Marvel color codes their magic powers, and the white magic looks a lot like what we saw Ego use, which makes sense that these elder gods would have similar powers to a celestial. After the trial, Yatzil lets Marc know that a Magi named Senfu knew where Ammit was buried and was tasked with secretly recording the location. But his sarcophagus was stolen. Wait, isn't the fish named Gus? Is that like Sarcophagus? Anyway, so Marc needs to try to find who bought it on the black market. So of course he starts by asking around at a market. Nobody trusts the Marc personality, so it's very lucky when Layla shows up. Marc isn't happy about her being there because he is worried that Khonshu is going to dump him for her. Layla uses her connections as a stolen treasure hunter to locate Senfu's sarcophagus. Some rich guy named Mogart has it, and yes, he is based on a comic book character. Anton Mogart was an art and jewel thief who had the nickname Midnight Man. The show is definitely setting him up for a bigger role, but sadly the actor playing him died after filming. They also meet a character named Beck, who must be based on the obscure comic book character Karish Beck. Beck mentions Madripoor, it's all connected, which makes sense since the power broker there made money with stolen art. Layla and Marc talk about the El Merma games that are going on, and I really want to have my own medieval times in my backyard when I grow up. El Merma is a traditional competition among Egyptian tribes, and it seems to be a combination of jousting and racing. Mogart takes them to Senfu, and we learn that Marc is actually pretty bad at his job. He isn't even really able to come up with a lie on why he needs to see Senfu, but I guess this is to set up Steven being needed here. Marc won't give Steven the body, but Steven won't help without it. It's not until Marc threatens to start killing people that Steven agrees to help. But right when Marc is about to put the star map together, Beck sneaks up on him because Mogart didn't like the way he was touching his Senfu. Harrow shows up to try to stop them from finding the location of Ammit's tomb. But before he destroys the sarcophagus, he tells Layla that Marc knows more than he's letting on about her father's murder. This, in combination with the discussion earlier, really hammers home that Marc or one of his personalities killed Layla's dad. Yeah, she's not going to be too happy about that. Harrow, using the cane, gets ready to blow up Senfu, and Khonshu shows up to tell Marc to summon the suit. Marc gets a little performance anxiety and doesn't seem to want to be Moon Knight in front of Harrow. He swears this never happens. But as soon as Harrow leaves, Marc transforms and makes a pretty sick entrance from on top of a building. Mogart gives a great WTF face as Moon Knight chucks a few killer moonerangs. So does he kill or doesn't he kill? I'm more confused than when I saw Batfleck with a shotgun. No matter what you think of the show, you have to admit that the Moon Knight stuff is incredible. The way the cape opens into a crescent moon, the glowing eyes, and the way he wraps up Layla to protect her from the gunfire, and then spins and throws the bullets back at what I hope are bad guys. So awesome. And did anyone else notice that the bullets he threw just knocked the guns out of their hands? Come on, Disney. Layla is able to grab the pieces of Senfu's star chart, which is why Harrow should have stuck around and not just left, hoping that everything would go as planned. As Moon Knight is kicking butt, Layla fights with Beck, using her necklace as a weapon. When I first saw it on her on the boat, I definitely wondered about her fashion choices, but now I see that she chooses function over style. And I wonder if she got the idea for it from seeing Marc's moonerangs, or if it came from somewhere else. As usual, I'm probably overthinking it. Steven tries to stop Marc from being awesome, and we see Moon Knight turn into Mr. Knight. I like how the show is using these versions of the character to represent each personality. Tell me in the comments if you think Jake Lockley or whatever the third personality is going to be will have their own costume. Mr. Knight asks everyone to just chill the F out, and then promptly gets stabbed with a spear. He quickly tells Marc to take the body back, and I'm pretty sure I laughed out loud at this part. Marc is in a tough spot as he's filled with more poles than a drunk spring breaker, but as soon as Layla is threatened, he breaks out of it and tosses a moonerang into Mogart's back. Because the actor playing Mogart passed away, they may have had to reshoot this ending, or maybe they had just planned for him to survive. But like when I wonder what I'd be doing if I really tried in school, I guess we'll never know. Khonshu then shows up standing on a clock, saying, "Tick-tock, Marc Spector, tick-tock." Subtle. Marc and Layla drive through Cairo, and the city looks great. I really like how they represented the city and didn't make it seem all old and deserty. The car ride then gets more awkward than when my ex-wife and I drove to couples counseling, as Layla asks Marc about what Harrow said about her father. Marc uses the always handy gaslighting trick and tries to play it off like Harrow was just trying to divide them, even more than Marc is already divided. But Layla is obviously upset that she can't seem to trust the guy who has a secret identity and multiple personalities. Go figure. They head out to the desert to try to use the star map, where they are spotted by Harrow's men. The map is pretty messed up and they realize they need Steven. Khonshu comments, "I summon the gods, you summon the worm. He won't give you the body back." But despite what the big pigeon says, Marc knows Layla is right, and then for some reason rips the side mirror off the Jeep instead of just looking into it right there. Again, Oscar Isaac is killing it. I knew right away when he was Steven again, and just like Layla, I was happy he was back. The star map pieces fit together to make it a big, star, but they realize the sky has changed over the thousands of years since Ammit was buried. That's when Khonshu lets them know that he can turn back time to how it was the night Ammit was buried, but he knows it will lead to the other gods trapping him in stone. Wait, so he can spin the universe like an 80s businessman going through his Rolodex, but he couldn't just find Harrow in the desert? Oh well, it looked awesome. Before Khonshu starts, he tells Steven to get Marc to free him once the gods punish him. So Marc knows how to do this? Oh well, it sounded cool when he said it. Together, Mr. Knight and Khonshu spin the sky, which can be seen all over Cairo, and I'm guessing all over the world. They hold it in place while Layla maps the sky, but Harrow knows it means Khonshu will be imprisoned. The other avatars got together quickly, holding hands and chanting, which sucks Khonshu into a stone statue, binding him to the temple. Horus, or Osiris's avatar, takes Harrow to see the Khonshu statue, and I'm still not really sure why he'd do that, but it gave Ethan Hawke a chance to act his ass off. Harrow admits he liked working for Khonshu, but it broke him down so much that he had to learn to heal. He tells Khonshu that he is only doing what he made him do. Dang, that's heavy. And I thought for sure he was going to snap that statue in half. So that was episode 3 of Moon Knight. Definitely a little more uneven tonally, but overall I really enjoyed it, and the Moon Knight scenes were awesome. With only 6 episodes, it was bound to feel rushed at times, so I won't be too hard on them for that. We are definitely headed for a showdown between Harrow and Marc and Steven and Layla at Ammit's tomb, since they now all know where it is. The question is, will they try to save Khonshu first so that they have his powers, or will they go in raw? And take it from me, a guy with 2 kids, they should definitely suit up first. Harrow seems to be one glassy step ahead of them though at all times, so I doubt he will just let them roll up to the tomb. As always, let me hear your theories in the comments. Are we gonna meet Jake Lockley this season? And will he have a suit? Will they save Khonshu before going to Ammit's tomb? And will we get to see all the gods in their true form battling Ammit? If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing as I put out regular content on a bunch of different shows. I'll keep doing Moon Knight and Better Call Saul Season 6, along with The Boys and The Umbrella Academy. If you have any suggestions for shows, please leave them in the comments. Once again, I'm Brent the Middleman. I'll see you next time.